Hey, how are you? Welcome in to On the Road to the World Cup, powered by SlabStox. I'm Andrew at St. Croix Cards, and I could not be more excited for this episode. Episode number 8. We've been at this for over 2 months, and we are just 25 days away as of this recording to the FIFA World Cup. Wow, I don't know, when I was a kid and we were in the car and we were almost to that destination, it seemed like it dragged on forever. That's kind of where I'm at right now. I don't know about you, where I'm just like, come on, let's get there. But it's probably a good thing that we don't, because we have so much to talk about today. We got some injuries I forgot to bring up that I do just want to touch on. We got some injury scares and really some good news maybe for the U.S. men's national team. We've got to talk about the loaded Group F. And you can see it there on the screen if you're listening to the podcast. It's Belgium, it's Canada, it's Morocco, it's Croatia. We got to talk who's hot and who is not. We'll leave our predictions there, so start your wheels turning. Who do you think is coming out of Group F? But we got to get going, so let's gas it up, let's get going, and let's get on the road. And we start with the injury that I completely missed. Just going to throw that out there. You know, I try to catch as much as I possibly can, but I failed to really rationalize the fact that Jorginho Wijnaldum is injured and not going to be at the World Cup. Plays for the Netherlands, was Liverpool, then he was PSG, and he signed for Rome in the summer. I believe he played in one game in Serie A and broke his tibia, if I'm remembering correctly. But he's out of the World Cup, and in that Netherlands midfield, he was a veteran presence. It'll be really interesting to see how that kind of shifts in the dynamics that change there for the Netherlands. But then we have really some close calls. You know, Gavi goes down here this week. There was some concern. He was very emotional when he was coming off the pitch, but it seems to be that he's okay. It's precautionary, and he's going to be fine. And he's still kind of on track to be in Qatar for Spain. So that was kind of that first bullet that's dodged. The second one, Rafael Varane was injured. And is not going to play until at least the World Cup for France. So Varane out, not playing, big loss for France, as he's now, and Man City was in pretty good form here over the last couple of weeks. But with him out, who's coming in? You know, who's going to play that center back role for Man United? The one, the only, Harry Maguire. Oh, man, could you imagine Harry Maguire getting a run of form right up to the World Cup for England? So this could be beneficial for Maguire. This could be big. And for Varane, it's unfortunate, but there's still some, like, you know, hopefully, yes, maybe he's going to be ready to go by the time they get to Qatar, but really we don't know. But this is a big loss for Man United, because that back four had been playing pretty well together here over the last couple of weeks. And then great news, if you are a big supporter of the U.S. men's national team, Anthony Robinson, the defender who plays for Fulham, played a full 90 minutes over the weekend. Getting over that injury that he had. So coming back to the U.S. men's national team, I think, is huge for him and for the side. You know, really need him in the lineup and in his position if we are going to, to stabilize the back and to be able to improve upon the lackluster performances during those September friendlies. He's a big part of it. Great to see him back in action and playing that full 90 minutes during the World Cup. But not during the World Cup, during the Premier League, and looking forward to him being at the World Cup. But let's get into Group F. Very, very loaded, in my opinion. Great teams. Usually in these, you know, when we take a look at the groups, a lot of times I look and go, okay, there is one team that maybe doesn't have hobby implications, or there's no relevancy. Couldn't do that here. Could not do that this week. We got to talk about players in every single team, because some of them I think are very relevant or could be relevant at the World Cup. We're going to start with Canada. Canada coming to the World Cup for the first time. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it was 1986. Canada is back at the World Cup, and they are going to be led by Alphonso Davies, the same Alphonso Davies that plays defense and right back for Bayern Munich. He is not going to play. He's going to be in an attacking role at the World Cup. It's going to be interesting to see. You can kind of see how his index has done over time, but he's interesting to me. He's really interesting when you start to look at his card market. Really, a lot of people look at this card, that 2018 Optic. Here's his PSA 10. The card ladder value has it at $173.05. The last one to sell was October 7th. And this rated rookie sold for $192.81. Now, this card tends to be looked at as his rated rookie, but I really enjoy Alphonso Davies and the fact that he did spend some time in MLS. And so he has some earlier, or he has cards of him in his Vancouver Whitecaps uniform. The first one is 2018. It's out of Stadium Club. You can see, if you're watching, it's on the top of your screen. If you're listening, 2018 Stadium Club, PSA 10. You could get that card October 21st. That sold on eBay for $80. Now, the other one in the same year, 2018, he has a Topps MLS. This is his blue rookie. That means it's out of 99. That his PSA 9 just sold October 20th, so it is numbered to 99 for $203.95. But if you are a collector of Alphonso Davies, if you like, or you're just, a fan of the Canadian national team and you're like, I want some of his stuff, he has some stuff in MLS uniforms, which I think is really cool, and then got that big move to Bayern Munich and just has been a big part of that side over the past couple of years. He does have some newer stuff too, if you're looking, for those Bayern kits, and really kind of, very cost effective. And I know he plays defense. We're going to talk a lot about defenders today, just be on the sides that we're going to talk about. But here you have his magenta refractor out of 150 PSA 10. It is an auto. But the auto is not graded here on this Topps Chrome Bundesliga card. But it sold for $175 on October 22nd. For an auto out of 150. You also can find others. You got his Topps Chrome Sapphire and Orange out of 50, a PSA 9, sold October 22nd for $32. So there's value out there, I believe, with Alphonso Davies. He's still very, very young, huge career ahead of him, and he's leading this Canadian team into the World Cup. Another big name, a young name that has kind of taken the hobby, and people are starting to recognize his name throughout the hobby if you're pretty inundated in the products that are coming out, and that's Jonathan David. He is a striker, and he plays in the French league for Lille, and he's in pretty good form. He's playing well. Here are just a couple examples of his card. The first one that I have here is his 2022 is rookie, Topps Finest. This is his green refractor out of 99. It is raw, and it sold October 22nd for $40.35. And then the other one that I have is just the Topps Chrome. This is a speckle refractor. It's not numbered. It is, though, a PSA 10, and that sold October 23rd for $50.91. But I think this Canadian team is very, very young. It has some young pieces to it, and they really performed well during qualifying. They had some great matchups and they had some great wins. And I think they actually ended up top of the group. So one to kind of watch out for, but two really young, Davies, you got David, and then Tejan Buchanan is also there. Plays for Club Bruges and has been playing in the Champions League, but he's looked pretty good as they won. Bruges won their first three. Unlike today, they got pretty taken to the cleaners, I think 4-0 against Porto today. But Tejan Buchanan is also an MLS product. On the New England Revolution, and going all the way back to an earlier episode where we talked about how that Bowman set is so important because there's so many guys getting their first cards in those 2020 Bowman set. He is one of them. Just that base card from that set sold for $36 on October 18th. He does have a Topps Now. I don't love Topps Now, but if you like Tejan Buchanan and you're looking for his early stuff, he does have one. And Topps Now, of course, we always know the print run, 242 on his Topps Now from 2021. That sold June 2nd. So, just kind of the start of the summer for $24. But I like Tejan Buchanan. A couple of guys who do not have cards, nor do I think that they're going to be in the World Cup. I could be very wrong. You can correct me if you are very well versed with the Canadian national team, leave a comment in the comments below. But Theo Corbano, I think is how you'd say that. He is a striker, 20 years old, plays for Wolves, and is on loan with Blackpool this year and has played pretty well. And so interesting, they have some younger guys, and then Luca Colisso is the other one. He plays for Espanyol in La Liga, but I think he's on their B team right now, but he's 17, 18 years old. So they've got a lot of young talent in Canada. I don't know if any of these guys with the expanded rosters, are any of them going to find, a slot as they get closer, to take to Qatar. I don't know, but there are some really interesting names that are attached to the Canadian national team that I think that we should kind of keep our eyes on as they compete at the World Cup. The other team that I want to, the second team that we're going to talk about today is Morocco. They are 22nd in the FIFA rankings, so just outside the top 20. And the big name there is Achraf Hakimi. He had gotten that massive move to PSG. And he's going to be kind of the star. He's going to be the guy that, people may know on this team. He's got some great cards going all the way back to 2018. That's that Donruss Optic is purple out of I believe it's 125. Sold raw October 1st for $30.12. In that same set, you've got those press proofs, red or green. He had a red press proof PSA 10 sell for $55 in the middle of August. And he's still got some new stuff in his PSG kits, because those early stuff is in that BBV, the Borussia Dortmund kit. But this, he's got stuff in 2021 Topps Chrome. He's got an auto that, you can pick up for around $10, $11.01 it sold for on October 13th. But he's going to play a vital role for the Morocco team. He's kind of the name that people should know and recognize, but he's not the only one. Now, you got to bear with me. I'm going to do my best. Nasser Mazraoui, I believe, something similar. If I butchered it, I'm very, very sorry. But he was a player on Ajax, got that move to Bayern Munich, and only has Obsidian in 2020. So is his rookie card. He's only got Obsidian in 2020. This one sold for October 5th for $12.99. But some interesting young names as you go there. The other one that I just thought I'd throw out there, if you're looking for value, if you're like, man, I can't spend $50. I can't spend $100. Now, Amin Harat is an interesting one to me. He spent a lot of time at Schalke. He has since made the move to Marseille, playing in Ligue 1 in France. But he's got some really cool cards. Some of the cards that people have really talked up here over the last couple of months, and that first one being the treble. This is the blue out of 75. This sold September 18th for $8. $8. Now, if you're looking more of the autos, 2020 Topps Chrome Bundesliga, his gold auto sold for $3 on October 12th. He is the type of player that maybe you see in value boxes, or maybe you can pick up for extremely cheap. Now, he's had a goal and a few assists in the Champions League for Marseille, and they're still very much in that loaded group. I know some of the games today, it was Marseille and Tottenham and a couple of the other ones that were all buying for those two spots into the knockout rounds of the Champions League. But he is playing for Marseille. He's active in the attacking midfield and could be, part of that attacking or an important role for Morocco if they are going to get out of this group. Now, the reason I bring him up and people are like, $3 or $8, really? Like, nobody knows who this guy is. He's still only 25. So if you do the math, that treble card was coming out when he was 21 years old. He's still got a lot of career ahead of him. And for me, I am not a big risk taker. And maybe that's part of the problem in the hobby. I'm very conservative. But when I look at this and I say, man, an auto of his out of, a gold one out of Topps Chrome Bundesliga sells for $3. Kind of, gets me to thinking like, it's extremely low risk. If you are interested in picking up some of this low end, low numbered, at a decent price, and maybe he scores a few goals in the World Cup, and maybe that card only goes to $9. Well, you just doubled, doubled your money. You went from $3 to $9. I'm not a math major, but if you can take that profit and move it into something else that you really are excited about, you can do that. So that's maybe a value here. But I wouldn't say like go out and buy every single one of them. But these are the type of guys that I look for because it's saying, they don't have to do much for their pricing to go from 3 to 5 or to 6. And if you're in that market and that's where you can be, some people are saying, well, why are you talking about this? Well, I think it's important because there are some people who, this is where they function. This is where they can function. And you want to give them the opportunity to have a few players that they maybe are interested in, maybe do a little bit more research on and say, that's the guy that I'm going to take a very, very low risk fly on. So he's one that you can look for from Morocco. But before we get into Croatia, I got to get to my Donald Duck moment. Oh, boy. And I just got through 2 teams that have great talent on them. Great talent on them. And it is baffling to me. And maybe somebody can explain this to me and you can leave it. And maybe this is, maybe this is a rant. I guess you could say it is. But it is so incredibly hard to believe that Canada or Morocco does not have any cards in any of the Road to Qatar sets that have been released. You don't have them in Donruss, Road to Qatar. You don't have them in Mosaic, and you don't have them in National Treasures Road to Qatar. That to me is a massive, massive problem. I mean, you look at Canada. They have not been in the World Cups from 1986. I feel for Canadian fans of soccer who have been waiting for them to make the World Cup, to win the group. It wasn't as if it was a surprise on the last day of qualifying that they snuck into the World Cup. No, they led the group. They finished top in the group, past the United States, past Mexico, and here on the road to Qatar, they performed well, and then we don't see anything in products. And it's not as if they are a country that doesn't have really young, exciting talent. I mean, you're telling, for me, it was like, if I'm a fan of the Canadian national team, I want that Alphonso Davies in the Canada kit. I want the Jonathan David in the Canada kit. I want the Tajon Buchanan in the kit of the country. And they're just not getting it, which I think is a huge, huge disservice to the countries that have made the World Cup. Maybe somebody can explain to me the reason they're not in all of these products is this. But everything I've looked at, they're just not in. I checked the checklist and I'm like, man, there is nothing there. Nothing there. Now, Panini, the Prism World Cup's coming out, and you'd hope and you'd expect, since it's not a Road 2, but the actual World Cup, that we're going to see some cards of those guys. But, if you're a fan of Morocco, or if you're a fan of Canada, I want to tell you, I'm sorry. I apologize, because it's just not fair that you guys are not getting cards of the players from your country in those products. But I had to stop before I get there because, they were the first 2 teams. And for me, it's just every time I'm looking at these checklists, I'm like, this is, yeah, I'm getting Italy. I'm getting Norway. I'm getting, fill in the blank who are not there, who are not going to the World Cup. But yet we are not getting the product. We're not getting Canada. We're not getting Morocco. We're not getting the teams that we should get. And that the fans of those teams should be able to acquire. But we're, my fingers, are crossed for the Prism World Cup, but I haven't seen a checklist yet. And, with all of the other products and those products that have come, my hopes are not high, but I still am hopeful that we're going to get some great stuff here in World Cup Prism. I'm always, the optimist. It's coming. It's going to be great. And then it's not. And then it's the next one. It's going to be great. And it's not. But let me know your comments below. Have you noticed that as well? Did you know that was happening? And your thoughts, your general thoughts on those products overall. But we do got to get into Croatia. 2018. This is one of the finalists, right? And they've got some very young talents. We got to talk about Josko Garvidal. I think maybe not. I don't think I said that correctly. But he is RB Leipzig. He plays center back for them. So another defender, 20 years old. And there's been a lot of buzz around him that he is going to get a move to a bigger club. But he's in all those new products in 2021, 2022. So if you're opening like Topps Chrome Merlin, you'll see this blue shimmer that was out of 75 sold for $12.89 on October 23rd. He's also at Topps Museum. Tried to switch it up a little bit. Here's Topps Museum. This is an auto. It's out of 50. It sold for $51 on October 22nd. But 20 years old, and for me, again, it always comes back to, why are you buying the cards? If I were to look at Garvidal and say, I'm interested, it may not be because of the World Cup with Croatia. Now he's going to play or he should play, but he's 20. When does he get his big move? At the next World Cup, he's 24. So very, very young, got his whole career ahead of him. But so when you're making decisions on who to buy and who do you want to, who do you want to pick up in hopes that the prices rise at some point? These are the type of guys at 20. It's a defender though. So, take that with a grain of salt, but I really enjoy, being able to track some of these guys. For me personally, I may pick up one or two of his numbered, $12 and now I'm invested, not invested as in like, I want to make money off this card, but now that I have his card, I tend to look at and focus in on his game. So I may check the Bundesliga and be like, RB Leipzig, and what'd they do? And did he possibly get a header? Or, what happened there? Or he picked up a red card. And I'm like, oh, man. But I have a more of a connection to that team and that player. That's what I like to do, because for me, it's always soccer first. And then the cards have kind of followed. Now, I love the cards. Don't get me wrong. Like now it's kind of soccer and cards and community all meshed into one. But I really like reasons to track certain players, certain teams. So that's where I'm coming from. But ask yourself the question, like, where am I coming from? What am I hopeful to get out of whatever card that I buy? Luka Sucic is another one. And he's in Austria. He's at FC Salzburg. Really kind of a good funneling system to major clubs. You got to assume that he's going to get a big move here sooner rather than later. A couple of the cards that he has up there, his pink red electric out of Stadium Club Chrome. Really love the pictures of Stadium Club. I've said that before. And I think the pink red electric, I think that came one a box. And this is a PSA 10. It's a pop one according to the eBay listing. Sold for $42.69. Be wary of that. When they start to throw pop counts at you, oh, it's a pop one. Well, yes, because it just came out or more recently came out. And the fact that it's only had a certain amount of time to get to PSA or SGC or BGS and then come back, the pop count is going to be pretty low. So just take that, into account too, whenever you're looking at people say, pop counts, because I picked another one that did the same thing. And this is out of Topps Chrome. This is gold refractor out of 50. It's a PSA 10. And they say it's a pop one, yeah, again, it's recent in coming out. It has to take some time to get to PSA or SGC or BGS and then come back, so be real careful when you're starting to look at listings, because it might be easy. And I fall into the trap too before, where it's like, oh, it's a pop 3, click, and you're like, buy it now. And then you're like, wow, now in a few months, it's a pop 12 or a pop 15 or a pop 20, nothing crazy, but enough to maybe affect the price moving forward. You got to talk Croatia. You got to talk Luka Modric. And he, for me, I don't talk about stickers. Really the focus has been cards, but I think we need to bring up his UEFA Euro sticker from 2008. This is a PSA 10. And the only reason this is more of the high-end stuff for Modric, it sold July 17th for $750. This sticker has a pop count. When I looked, was 16. So very, very low pop count. And it was a best offer. I kind of look at that as well, where, is it an auction or is it a best offer? Where are we at with that? But it is a best offer. But it is the one sticker I do want to point out, because 2008, and then it jumps kind of later on, you start to get some of those early releases of iconic sets, to me personally. So 2014 Panini Prism World Cup, that first Prism release for the World Cup. This is the matchups. And again, maybe a little biased. I absolutely love the matchups, and I love the matchups, either the silver or the colors that you find. This is the red. This is out of 149. I just think it looks really great. This is a PSA 10, sold for $350 on October 7th. But if you're watching, like, Croatia has that white red checker, and then he's on the card with Xavi as well, and it's that red Spain kit. It just really, really pops. I like it. And even in this case, the red with the PSA slab and the red border around the title, it just looks really good. I like the aesthetics of that card. It looks good to kind of, when you hold it, I could only imagine. I don't own this card, but I think it would be pretty amazing to see that in person. So that's why I picked that one, just an early one of a very beautiful card to me. The other one I put up there, that's a Copper Prism Auto from 2016, 2017 Select. Those Coppers are out of 49. And that sold raw, not graded, October 19th for $221.07. But he has been really an integral part to that team. Ballon d'Or winner, Real Madrid, to the World Cup final in 2018, lost to France 4-2, but really it was a great run for Croatia in 2018. And then finally, the big team of the group, Belgium. They are currently ranked second in the FIFA rankings. I don't know about that. We've talked a lot, in previous years. I've heard a lot about the golden generation of Belgium. They've really underperformed at major tournaments, but they do have some younger players coming through. First one I want to talk about is Charles De Ketelaere. He is currently at AC Milan, has gone through a few injuries, but he had spent the previous seasons at Club Brugge before making the move to Serie A this summer. And he's got some rookies in 2020. Interesting about CDK, just want to point this out. You can see in his Merlin, or if you're listening, Merlin blue out of 75. It is a color match, but it does have the rookie kind of logo on the card. October 19th, this one sold for $75. The interesting thing to me is if you go to the Topps Chrome. Now, Topps Chrome, same year, Charles De Ketelaere, the one that I picked was an SGC 9. This is the gold, and it's out of 50, but there is no rookie logo on this card, which makes for an interesting play. I have seen a lot of Charles De Ketelaere in value boxes from this Topps Chrome year, 2020. So I've been at shows and, you're digging through all the base, or sometimes they separate the rookies and the rookie color from, the base and the base color. And you can kind of go through and I have found a few of the refractors. I haven't, stumbled onto any 2020 Topps Chrome color of Charles De Ketelaere, but I have come across a couple of his silvers that I've kind of picked out, and you're getting them for 50 cents or $1 when it's in a large lot, but they don't have any rookies. So if you're out there, if you're at the shows, if you find some value boxes of soccer, or even if you have value boxes of soccer, I'd double back and go through, take a look at 2020 Topps Chrome, and see if you have kind of mislabeled or misplaced it, because this is a weird one. It's the same thing as Ryan Cherky and Merlin this year. It's his rookie. It's his first card, but there's no rookie logo. And just being aware of are they in products, doing a little bit more research. Here's where, you can kind of take your research to the next level and see if there's some kind of sneaky, plays out there where you can kind of pick up some of their early cards, rookie cards, for non-rookie prices. So CDK is one to look at. A couple other names that I'm just going to throw out there. The first one, Jeremy Doku. He plays for Rennes in League One. He was a big part of the 2020, 2021, rookie class. This is out of Merlin Chrome, out of 99. This is the green or the neon green out of 99, sold for $15 on October 16th. He hasn't really been playing well. Hasn't been putting in the goals in League One, but he is kind of one to watch, kind of on that fringe of, the striking options for Belgium. And then the other one is one that I think is an extreme value play. So again, pricing is all over the board. We can go extremely high for Modric, 2008 sticker rookies, $750. Here is Dodi Luka Bakayo, who plays for Hertha Berlin in the Bundesliga. He's been playing really well, 5 goals, an assist in 11 games. So he's averaging, a goal every, a little less than every 2 games. But the reason I bring him up again, here is his 2020 Topps Chrome Bundesliga auto. So it's just the regular auto. There's no color there, but it sold for $3.25 September 13th, 2022. And I saw that, and as I was looking at the national team, I was like, that's really interesting. Now, is he gonna be the starter and go crazy? No. You've got Doku and you've got Romelu Lukaku, who we will talk about here in a little bit. But the reason I bring him up is just, name recognition. There are so many podcasts that I listen to where I don't know everybody. I don't know all the names of the players. I don't, in leagues that I don't really follow. And to hear names and then to show up at, card shows and digging through boxes, you might be able to find a play. Now, Luka Bakayo is one of the names that I kind of knew from the Bundesliga, and some of the stuff that I read was like, he could score some goals this year. And I'm going to try to hold this up. Maybe I can, but, in full disclosure here, it's kind of hard to see, but that's the same card that was on eBay. I was at in Green Bay, Wisconsin at a card show, going through a box of all football, basketball, baseball, and slightly, the guy said there might be a few soccer cards in there, and that was one of them. And I pulled it out and I said, what can you do? He's like, that's a value box. It's $1, So I paid the $1 and I took it home, and I was like, this is cool to have an auto. Now I'm kind of hoping that, Luka Bakayo is going to play well in the World Cup. Now, do I think he's, going to be the golden boot of the World Cup? No, but it's a cool card, and I've now been tracking him. Again, going back to my love of soccer, I'm checking in with Hertha Berlin. Are they winning? They're at the bottom half of the table, and the fact that he's scoring 5 goals and an assist, and they're, I think, 13th or 14th in the Bundesliga, I normally probably wouldn't check in on their games, but I do. I click the game and I say, okay, how did he score? Or even if they're on ESPN Plus, I'm checking in with them too. So a lot of this is, for me, is connecting me to teams and players that I maybe not normally would. You can't talk Belgium without talking about Kevin De Bruyne. And I want to start by just, I don't know the KDB market as well as I should, but Man City, and to me, one player that is very undervalued in the terms of just cost, what he brings to Man City. And the pricing that goes with it, I just don't think. I think it's a little off. And you can correct me if I'm wrong. If you have thoughts, leave them. But I think he's undervalued as probably the best midfielder in the Premier League right now, and maybe possibly top 3 midfielder in the Premier League of all time. That's a big shout, that's a loaded statement, but I really do. What he does with Man City, what he's able to facilitate on that team, and most people will be like, well, look who they have on that team. But if you watch the quality this guy plays with, the quality that he has, it's undeniable. But here's a couple examples of just his cards. The first one is a 2016 Panini Prism. This is the Euro purple out of 99. A PSA 9 sold for $121.03 on September 28th. 2017, you've got Select. This is a patch auto. It's copper out of 49. It's a PSA 9. The auto is a 10. It's a beautiful auto. Sold for $510 on September 1st of this year. Newer stuff, though, you can find, and this is maybe where I think, is there value here? His Stadium Club of this year, 2021, this is the Beam Team Auto out of 199, sold October 24th for $100. And if you're looking maybe not for the auto side, you're like, I'd love a really low numbered KDB, Kevin De Bruyne. You look no further, and I know some people are like, they're so low numbered, you're never going to find them. But this one was on eBay. It was at auction, sold October 24th. This is a Topps Chrome red refractor PSA 9 out of 10, sold for $96 on the 24th. To me, that seems like a really, really good deal for the player that Kevin De Bruyne is. Now, I think personally, if he has a great World Cup, we're going to see Belgium go far. If he, as goes KDB, so goes Belgium, and I think that's going to be a very true statement here as we roll into the World Cup here in just over 3 weeks. But KDB is a big one to keep in mind. And now to the end of the show today, who's hot and who's not? Mikhail Modric, I don't know this guy. I'm sorry, names to me, I did my best. But this kid is 21 years old, plays for Shakhtar Donetsk in the Ukraine. 6 games this year in league play, 3 goals, 5 assists. Champions League this year, I had to fit him in. 5 games, 2 goals, 3 assists. Now you'll probably be, if you're well versed in the World Cup draw and the teams that are in it, you're going to say he's not in the World Cup. You're right. I just think, this guy is playing really, really well. You're starting to hear buzz about transfers and where he's going to go. One of those places, but we're Arsenal, but we're linked to everybody, every transfer window. If we had got every player we were ever linked to, our squad would be astronomical. But he is playing really, really well. I've been really enjoyed kind of watching him play in the Champions League. Looking forward to knowing where he's going to go here in the future. But he's my who's hot. And finally, the who. Backing up here just a second. He doesn't have any, sets, or he's not in Topps Chrome. He's not in Prism. He does have a Topps Now. But I'm not a huge fan of Topps Now, but other people are taking notice of the production and how he's playing. And the reason I bring this up, just be, the parallels, Topps Now, it's not really for me. But October 20th, his parallel of his Topps Now out of 10 sold for $350. That's raw. That's not graded. And it was a best offer. So I'm also excited as you talk about who's hot. If he continues the form, if he continues to do well, it'll be really interesting to see, what products he does find its way into and cards that you can then find. It's just hard when they're young and they're in leagues that are outside the Big Five. They may not have cards readily available to kind of snatch up as they start to perform really well. The who's not is Belgian. He is Romelu Lukaku. And he is not because he's not playing. He is injured and has been injured for 8 weeks as of the filming of this episode. Inter Milan, he is where he's at. And they've played 11 games. He's only played 3 of them. He does have a goal and an assist, but those 3 were the first 3 games of the year. He has not played since August 26th. That's concerning as you're building up to this start of the World Cup in Qatar, and what role is he going to play on that team? I think, he brings a lot of matchup problems for defenses and would be very, very vital and important for that team. But he's got some great early stuff. Cost isn't too expensive as well. I pulled up the 2015 Panini Select. He's got a purple prism. This is SGC. It is a 9.5, sold for $19.50 on September 14th. And then he also, from the same set, has, I put up there, a red prism, and that's out of $199. This is a PSA 10, and that sold for $30 in the middle of October or the middle of this month. And the reason I also bring this up is if you're into that early, if you like those early select, 2015 select, 2016 select, even 2015 Donruss, always look, they've got some great image variations. Now, here's the one where he's got the red kit is the one that the purple select is in. And then the red prism is the black Belgian kit that you can see. So if you're watching on the screen, you can see same set, just image variation, different pictures. So I like that as well because, you have some different options there early on as well. But pretty cheap, $30 for PSA 10 out of $199, under $20 for a purple out of $99. That's an SGC 9.5. And again, that SGC, that SGC with the purple, the color, it just pops in those tuxedos of SGC. Love them. And that's why I have a couple of these cards in not Lukaku, but a couple of these colors in SGCs for that reason alone. If you're looking for newer stuff, and I think, you look no further, his Stadium Club, I love the image with just the image that he has there with the Chelsea kit on. Blue Wave Refractor Auto out of 75. It is raw, sold for $55 on October 22nd. And then he has a 2018-2019. This is not in the Chelsea kit. This would be in the Manchester United kit. Blue Wave Refractor also out of 75. It is an SGC 9 with an auto of a 10. That sold for $32 on October 19th. And the reason I bring this up, again, is this final question that I might have before we get into our predictions. Does it matter what kit they're in? And I think, if you're thinking about, Romelu Lukaku, for me, it's safe to, find those products that he's in the Belgian kit. He's played for a lot of different teams. He's played for Everton. He's played for Man United. He's played for Chelsea. He's played for Inter. And he will always be on that Belgian national team. And that's where he's always played his football for his country. And so for me, unless you're a fan excuse me, unless you're a fan of Manchester United, unless you're a fan of Chelsea or Inter or Everton, I would always look to, personally, if you're looking for, if it's to, to buy, to not hold, and to move at some time, I'm always probably going to lean on the country kits. Which brings us all the way back, right? Here is Group F. Who's moving on? I would love to know your thoughts on this. At the beginning of the episode, I said, hey, who do you think? Get the wheels turning, get them spinning. Let's go. Who's coming out of Group F? And it's pretty loaded. I do think Belgium gets out. I think this is one of those groups that comes down to the third and final game where nothing is decided. I think this is going to be one of those really exciting groups to watch. After 2 games, in some of these groups, you might say, okay, these 2 are moving on, these 2 are not. I don't think that's what we're going to get in Group F. I think this is going to be a dogfight to the end. And in game 3 or match 3, the winners are going to move on, and the losers are obviously not. For me, Belgium does get through. I think there's quality there. I think there's enough there that gets them through, which leaves us with Canada, Morocco, and Croatia. Now, Croatia, World Cup finalists in 2018. Morocco, has some quality to it. Here's me, I'm rolling with Canada. I would love to see Canada get out of the group, get into the round of 16. I just think it would be so great for Canada and for their fans. What a storyline, right? 1986, last time in the World Cup, and then to get out of group into the knockout stages, I think would be fantastic to see. And I think they could do it. They performed well in qualifying, and now they have an opportunity on the world stage with some athletes that are, some of the world, some of these young talent and some of the world's best. Alphonso Davies, what could you do in an attacking role in Qatar? So for me, Belgium, Canada, I'm locking it in there. And that's all we have for this week. I do want to just say again, thank you so much to everybody who's reached out via Instagram, who's left comments to the videos. If you've watched or listened up to this point, thank you so much. Your support and your encouragement goes a really, really long way. I love this. I love the opportunity to sit down and talk soccer. Players that you may not know much about, players that you know a lot about, but just the fact that we can come together, that we could be on this road together as the road starts to get shorter and shorter, and then we get closer and closer to the end as we reach the World Cup in Qatar. I just want to thank you for being on the road with me. The community of card collectors and soccer fans, I will say it again and again, it is one of a kind. So if you are in it, thank you for the support and the encouragement and the positivity that you bring to the soccer card community. If you're new to it, come on in. It's one of the best places that you can be. So many uplifting, so many encouraging people who really just want people to be aware of the beautiful game that soccer is, and allow people the opportunity to enjoy it as much as I do. So thanks so much. I'm done talking. We'll talk next week. Big group again next week. It's all about Group G, and G is loaded as well. We got 25 days. It's going to be great. Again, I'm Andrew at St. Croix Cards. This is On the Road to the World Cup. We'll see y'all next week. Make it a great day, y'all.